On the not-so-distant future, a chilling silence fell over the vast steppes of Russia. The year was 2045, and the world had been thrust into chaos. Tensions between nations simmered like a pot on the verge of boiling over, but no one could have predicted the storm that was about to descend upon humanity. It began with an eerie glow in the sky, an ominous harbinger of doom that heralded the arrival of an alien race known as the Cathar. The Cathar were a technologically advanced species, their ships gliding through the atmosphere like phantoms. They descended upon Russia first, their motives shrouded in mystery. Was it conquest, colonization, or something far more sinister? The Russian military mobilized swiftly, but the Cathar's weapons were unlike anything humanity had ever encountered. Energy beams sliced through tanks and aircraft, leaving nothing but smoldering wreckage in their wake. As the invasion unfolded, the world watched in horror. But amid the chaos, a flicker of hope emerged from an unexpected place: Ukraine. In the heart of a nation already ravaged by conflict, a group of ordinary citizens banded together. They were farmers, teachers, engineers, and soldiers, united by a single purpose: to fight back against the alien menace. They called themselves the Resistance. Led by Viktor, a former Ukrainian Special Forces operative, the Resistance began to organize. Viktor was a man haunted by his past, having lost friends and family in the ongoing war with Russia. But this time the enemy was different. The Cathar didn't just threaten Ukraine, they threatened the very existence of humanity. Viktor gathered a diverse team, each member bringing unique skills to the table. There was Lena, a brilliant engineer who could hack into any system; Oleg, a farmer with an uncanny ability to navigate the terrain; and Dmitri, a tech-savvy teenager who could build weapons from scrap. As the resistance grew, so did their resolve. They devised a plan to infiltrate a Cathar command center, located deep within the heart of occupied Russia. Their goal was to gather intelligence and, if possible, sabotage the alien operations. It was a dangerous mission, fraught with peril, but they knew they had to act quickly before the Cathar solidified their hold on Earth. Under the cover of darkness, the resistance set out. The landscape was a haunting reminder of what had been lost, a once thriving region now scarred by war. As they approached the command center, tension hung thick in the air. Every rustle of leaves sent adrenaline coursing through their veins. They moved stealthily, relying on Oleg's knowledge of the land to avoid detection. Once inside the command center, they marveled at the advanced technology surrounding them. Holographic displays flickered with data, and strange devices hummed with energy. Lena got to work immediately, her fingers flying over the controls as she hacked into the Cathar systems. But time was not on their side. Alarms blared, and the sound of heavy footsteps echoed through the halls. They had been discovered. In a frantic scramble, the resistance fought their way out, using improvised weapons and sheer determination. Viktor led the charge, his training kicking in as he strategized on the fly. They ducked and weaved through the chaos, taking down Cathar soldiers with a combination of guerrilla tactics and sheer willpower. Each victory felt monumental, a testament to the human spirit refusing to be extinguished. As they reached the exit, Lena shouted, "I've got the intel. We can turn the tide." With the data in hand, they burst into the night, hearts pounding, adrenaline surging. But their escape was short-lived. A Cathar ship hovered above, its lights sweeping the ground like a predator searching for prey. The resistance was cornered. Just when all seemed lost, Viktor made a split-second decision. "We need to take down that ship." He rallied his team, and they launched a desperate assault. Using makeshift explosives and their knowledge of the terrain, they created a diversion, drawing the ship's fire away from their escape route. The Cathar, caught off guard, faltered. In that moment of confusion, Viktor and his team struck, planting explosives on the ship's underbelly. With seconds to spare, they fled as the device detonated, sending shockwaves through the air. The explosion lit up the night sky, a beacon of defiance against the invaders. The resistance had survived, but they knew this was only the beginning. They had the intel they needed, and with it, they could rally the rest of humanity to join the fight. Back in Ukraine, news of their success spread like wildfire. People from all walks of life joined the resistance, inspired by the bravery of those who dared to stand against the Cathar. Nations began to unite, pooling resources and sharing technology. Humanity was awakening, realizing that their greatest weapon was not just their technology, but their indomitable spirit. Months passed and the resistance grew stronger. They launched coordinated attacks across Europe, striking fear into the hearts of the Cathar. With each victory, the tide of war shifted. Viktor became a symbol of hope, a leader whose name resonated in the hearts of millions. The world stood together, determined to reclaim their planet. But the Cathar were not without their own strengths. They retaliated with brutal force, launching counterattacks that devastated cities and left destruction in their wake. The struggle intensified and the stakes grew higher. Yet, amidst the despair, humanity found resilience. They adapted, innovated, and fought back with everything they had. In a climactic battle, the Resistance faced the Cathar in a showdown that would determine the fate of Earth. Armed with the stolen technology and the courage of their convictions, they engaged in a fierce confrontation. The skies rumbled with the clash of ships, and the ground shook beneath their feet as the two forces collided. Viktor, leading the charge, fought valiantly alongside his comrades. They pushed forward, driven by the memories of loved ones lost and the hope of a brighter future. In the heat of battle, Lena activated a device they had salvaged from the Cathar Command Center, a weapon capable of disrupting the aliens' technology. It pulsed with energy, and as it unleashed its power, the Cathar forces faltered. In that moment of vulnerability, the resistance seized the opportunity. They pressed forward, overwhelming the Cathar with sheer numbers and unwavering determination. The tide turned, and the Cathar began to retreat, their once mighty fleet crumbling under the relentless assault of united humanity. As the dust settled, the resistance stood victorious. They had reclaimed their home, but more importantly, they had forged a new alliance among nations. The world had come together, united against a common foe, proving that humanity was capable of extraordinary feats when faced with adversity. In the aftermath, Viktor looked out over the horizon, a sense of hope swelling within him. The scars of war would remain, but they would heal. Together, humanity would rebuild, stronger than ever before. The Cathar may have underestimated the tenacity of the human spirit, but they had learned a valuable lesson. Never underestimate a species that fights for its survival. And as the sun rose on a new day, Viktor and his team prepared for the next chapter. The universe was vast, and while they had won this battle, they knew there would always be challenges ahead. But they were ready, armed with the knowledge that together they could face anything. Humanity had proven itself once again, and the stars now held a new story, one of resilience, unity, and the unyielding spirit of mankind. As the sun rose over the horizon, casting a golden hue across the battered landscape, Viktor and his team gathered to assess their next steps. The victory against the Cathar had been monumental, but they knew that this was just the beginning of a long journey toward reclaiming Earth fully. The scars of war were visible everywhere, ruined buildings, displaced families, and the haunting memories of those who had fought bravely and fallen. In the days following their triumph, the resistance transformed into something greater, a coalition of nations, scientists, and civilians dedicated to rebuilding and fortifying humanity's defenses against any future threats. They called themselves the United Earth Alliance, UEA, a name that resonated with hope and unity. Viktor was appointed as one of its leaders, a position he accepted with humility and determination. Lena, having become a key figure in the UEA, worked tirelessly to reverse engineer the Cathar technology they had captured. Her brilliance shone through as she led a team of engineers and scientists in creating advanced weaponry and defense systems. They developed energy shields that could withstand Cathar blasts and drones equipped with stealth technology for reconnaissance missions. The UEA was not just preparing for defense, they were gearing up for a counter-offensive. Meanwhile, Oleg and Dmitri took on the responsibility of training new recruits. People from all walks of life joined the UEA, eager to contribute to the fight for their planet. Farmers learned to wield weapons, teachers became strategists, and everyday citizens transformed into soldiers. The spirit of camaraderie grew stronger, and the shared purpose united them all. However, not everyone was convinced that fighting back was the right approach. A faction within the UEA emerged, advocating for diplomacy rather than warfare. They argued that the Cathar might have misunderstood humanity, and that there could be a way to coexist peacefully. This internal conflict created tension among the ranks, with some believing that they should extend an olive branch, while others insisted on preparing for another inevitable invasion. Viktor found himself caught in the middle of this ideological battle. He understood the desire for peace, but also recognized the reality of the Cathar's ruthless nature. He held a town hall meeting, inviting members from both sides to voice their opinions. The room buzzed with heated debates, emotions running high as people expressed their fears and hopes. "Look around you," Viktor said, raising his voice above the clamor. "We've seen what the Cathar are capable of. We cannot afford to let our guard down, but I also believe that we must explore every avenue. If there is a chance for peace, we owe it to ourselves to pursue it." His words struck a chord, leading to a compromise. The UEA would prepare for potential conflict while simultaneously seeking diplomatic channels. Lena proposed sending a delegation to the Cathar homeworld, armed with knowledge and technology that showcased humanity's advancements. It was a bold move, one that carried immense risk, but also the potential for unprecedented peace. As preparations began for the mission, Viktor assembled a diverse team. Alongside Lena, he included representatives from various backgrounds, diplomats, scientists, and even former Cathar prisoners who had defected during the war. Their unique perspectives would be invaluable in understanding the alien culture and negotiating terms. The day of departure arrived, and the atmosphere was charged with anticipation. The UEA had built a sleek spacecraft equipped with the latest technology, designed for both defense and communication. As they boarded, Viktor felt a mix of hope and trepidation. Would they be met with hostility, or could they find common ground? As the ship ascended into the sky, the earth below shrank away, revealing the vastness of space. The crew navigated through the stars, guided by coordinates that led them to the Cathar homeworld, a planet cloaked in swirling clouds and shimmering lights. It was beautiful yet foreboding, a stark reminder of the power the Cathar wielded. Upon arrival, they were greeted by a contingent of Cathar soldiers, their imposing figures towering over the human delegation. Tension crackled in the air as Viktor stepped forward, heart pounding. He raised his hands in a gesture of peace, hoping to convey their intentions. "We come in peace," he declared, his voice steady despite the fear coursing through him. "We seek to understand and to forge a new path together." The Cathar leader, a tall figure with iridescent skin and piercing eyes, regarded Viktor with an inscrutable expression. After a tense silence, the leader responded in a deep, resonant voice. "Your kind has shown strength, but strength alone does not ensure survival. What do you offer?" Viktor took a deep breath, prepared for this moment. "We offer knowledge, technology, and the opportunity for cooperation. Together, we can create a future where both our species thrive. We have much to learn from each other." The discussions that followed were intense and complex. The Cathar shared their own history of conquest, loss, and the burden of their technological superiority. They revealed that their initial invasion had stemmed from desperation, a need for resources after their own planet faced ecological collapse. Days turned into weeks as the negotiations unfolded. Viktor and his team worked tirelessly, forging connections and building trust. They demonstrated humanity's resilience, creativity, and capacity for compassion. Slowly, walls began to crumble, and mutual respect started to blossom. But just as hope seemed within reach, news arrived from Earth. A rogue faction of Cathar, disillusioned by the peace talks, launched an attack on the UEA's headquarters. They believed that humanity was weak and sought to exploit the situation, determined to continue the war. The message was clear. Not all Cathar were willing to embrace peace. Victor's heart sank as he realized the precariousness of their situation. The very foundation of their negotiations hung in the balance. He convened an emergency meeting with the Cathar leaders, presenting evidence of the rogue faction's actions. "We must stand together against this threat," he urged. "If we allow division to conquer us, we will both fall." The Cathar leader considered Victor's words carefully. "You speak truth. Our enemies are many, but if we unite, we may yet prevail." With renewed determination, the two factions, humans and Cathar, formed an alliance to combat the rogue group. Together, they devised a plan to confront the attackers head-on, combining their strengths and resources. The battlefield was set, and as the two forces prepared to engage, a sense of solidarity enveloped them. The clash was fierce, a chaotic dance of energy beams and tactical maneuvers. Viktor fought alongside Cathar warriors, their differences forgotten in the face of a common enemy. The rogue faction underestimated the combined might of their adversaries, and as the battle raged on, it became clear that unity was their greatest weapon. In a climactic showdown, Viktor confronted the leader of the rogue faction, a fierce Cathar warrior who had once been a respected commander. "This isn't the way," Viktor shouted amidst the chaos. "We can build a future together. Don't let hatred consume you." For a moment, the warrior hesitated, the fire of conflict flickering in his eyes. But the anger of betrayal surged forth, and he lunged at Viktor. In a desperate struggle, Viktor managed to disarm him, pinning him to the ground. "Fight for your people, not against them," he implored. In that moment of vulnerability, the warrior's resolve cracked. He looked around at the devastation wrought by his own actions, realizing the futility of his cause. With a heavy heart, he relented, calling off his remaining troops. The battle ended, and the remnants of the rogue faction surrendered. In the aftermath, the alliance between humans and Cathar solidified. They worked together to rebuild, sharing technology and knowledge that would benefit both species. The UEA expanded its reach, incorporating Cathar insights into their strategies, creating a more robust defense system against any future threats. Months later, as the dust settled and the scars of war began to heal, Viktor stood on a hill overlooking a vibrant city that had risen from the ashes. Humans and Cathar walked side by side, working together to forge a new world. The bonds formed in battle had blossomed into friendship, and the promise of a shared future shimmered on the horizon. Viktor reflected on the journey that had brought them here, the struggles, the losses, and the victories. He understood now that true strength lay not just in the ability to fight, but in the courage to unite. Humanity had faced extinction, yet they had risen, proving that when pushed to the brink, they could adapt, innovate, and ultimately thrive. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Viktor felt a sense of peace wash over him. The universe was vast, filled with unknowns, but he knew that together they could face whatever challenges lay ahead. The story of humanity was far from over. It was just beginning, and the stars now held a new narrative, one of resilience, unity, and the unyielding spirit of all sentient beings.